For thousands of years, humans lived under an invisible gaze, whether you were rich or poor, powerful or powerless, a farmer, a king, a soldier, a criminal, your actions were watched, not by people, not by society, by God, a presence above you, a judge outside you, an eye that saw everything. You behaved not because you were pure, but because you were seen, and then, in the blink of a historical eye, we shut him off. We buried the watcher and replaced him with a mirror. The modern world proudly declared, we don't need God, we can be moral on our own. But the moment that belief died, something dark woke up inside us, because when no one is watching, who are you? What do you become? Chapter 1. When the supervisor left the room, Friedrich Nietzsche wrote the most dangerous sentence in Western philosophy: God is dead, we have killed him. Most people quote it like a mic drop moment. They don't read the next part. Nietzsche wasn't celebrating, he was terrified. He said, there will be wars such as there have never been on earth. He said that when people lose their belief in something higher, they will look lower, to themselves, to their desires, to their ideology. Nietzsche believed that once God was gone, something worse would take his place, not freedom, not morality, chaos. See, God wasn't just a belief, God was a limit. A boundary, a restraint. Human beings love freedom, until they realize freedom means responsibility. With God gone, we told ourselves, we can decide what is good. But Nietzsche knew the truth: people don't become moral when freed, they become unpredictable, because without a supervisor, you don't become righteous, you become unobserved, and unobserved humans are capable of anything. Chapter 2, The Shadow We Refuse to. Carl Jung saw the next consequence. He said every person carries a shadow, a hidden side containing all the things we deny, reject, or refuse to admit about ourselves. The shadow holds jealousy, rage, cruelty, the desire to dominate. Jung said, the shadow is 90% pure gold. Because if you face your shadow, you gain strength and self-knowledge, but if you repress it, it begins to leak into your thoughts, your actions, your relationships, your politics. People think, I'm a good person. No, you are simply a person with rules. Your shadow is everything you would be without those rules. Remove the rules, and the shadow walks out. If no one would ever know, and there were no consequences, what would you do? No excuses, no filters. Whatever image flashed in your head, whatever answer tried to form but scared you. That wasn't a thought, that was your shadow. Chapter 3, Humans don't become free. They become gods. Here is something brutal: when people remove God, they don't stop worshipping, they replace the altar. Instead of worshipping something higher, we worship ourselves. We are the most photographed generation in human history, because we turned the camera into a mirror, and made the mirror a shrine. Likes became validation, validation became worship, worship became addiction. The modern world preaches, follow your feelings. Trust yourself. You are enough. But if you are always enough, you never have to change, never have to improve, never have to confront your flaws. When you are your own God, you never apologize, and gods don't have shadows. People who worship themselves don't look inward, they project outward. The problem isn't me, the problem is everyone else. If society triggers you, then society must be wrong. If the world challenges you, then the world must be evil. This mindset produces the most dangerous psychological mutation, moral narcissism. Not only do I believe I'm right, I believe I am better. Chapter 4, Moral certainty is more dangerous than evil. The psychologist Jonathan Haidt studied social movements, revolutions, uprisings. His conclusion: evil is not the opposite of good, self-righteousness is. Because when someone believes, I am morally right, they can justify almost anything. They don't have a shadow, they have a mission. Most genocides were not committed by villains, they were committed by people who believed, I am saving the world. History is not full of monsters, it's full of ordinary people with absolute certainty. the moment someone believes, I know the truth. They stop looking for the truth, the moment someone believes, I am good. They stop questioning their darkest motives, and when people stop questioning themselves, the shadow takes control. If you had the power to impose your morality on the world, would you? If your answer was yes, you're already halfway to a tyrant, you just don't know it yet. Chapter 5, Myth wasn't superstition. It was training. Ancient myths were not bedtime stories, they were psychological instruction manuals. The hero always confronts the shadow, always, not because the shadow is evil, but because the hero is incomplete without it. Every story warned, enter the darkness voluntarily, so it doesn't take you by force. Religion didn't exist to limit human potential, it existed to limit human destructiveness. Myth taught humility, self-awareness, restraint. Today, we reject myth, we reject discipline, we reject any limit on our impulses. Because limits feel oppressive, but a human without limits is an animal with ego. Chapter 6, when accountability dies, humans mutate. You don't need religion to behave morally, but you need something greater than your impulses. Remove accountability, and people don't turn into free spirits, they turn into mobs. Look at history. Ordinary people became concentration camp workers, violent revolutionaries, collaborators in genocide. They didn't wake up evil. They simply reached a moment when there were no consequences, everyone else was doing it, and their group approved. When personal responsibility dissolves into collective identity, the shadow becomes unstoppable, because when the group sins, no one feels guilty. Chapter 7, Ideology. The new religion. Nietzsche predicted that when God dies, ideology replaces him, not philosophy, not reason, ideology. Because ideology gives people meaning, belonging, righteousness. Enemies. Ideology tells you, you are good. They are evil. That sentence is the fuel for every war. Political tribes today don't seek truth, they seek victory. Religious wars never ended, they just switched symbols. Instead of a cross or a crescent, now the sacred symbols are flags, hashtags, identities, causes. You don't debate ideology, you worship it. When was the last time you changed your mind about something you believe passionately? If the answer is never, that belief owns you, not the other way around. Chapter 8. The world didn't become atheist. It became narcissistic. We used to live in a God-centered universe. Now we live in a self-centered one. You are told, you are special, you are unique, you deserve happiness. But if everyone is special, no one is grounded. If everyone is unique, no one is humble, and if everyone deserves happiness, who deserves responsibility? Self-worship is the new religion, but worship requires a sacrifice, and the sacrifice is truth. Instead of becoming free, we became fragile. Instead of becoming powerful, we became offended. Instead of becoming self-aware, we became self-obsessed. Chapter 9. The shadow of freedom. Freedom without discipline is self-destruction disguised as liberation. People don't want freedom, they want permission. Permission to avoid growth, avoid accountability, avoid their shadow. But the shadow refuses to stay buried. What you do not face, you will become. When the shadow takes control, the mind rewrites reality to justify it, because no one sees themselves as the villain, everyone sees themselves as the victim, and victims feel entitled to anything. Once you believe you are a victim, you are capable of infinite cruelty. Chapter 10. You are not who you think you are. The most dangerous sentence a person can believe is, I know myself. You don't. You know the version of yourself that is convenient, comfortable, socially acceptable. You don't know your breaking point, your capacity for cruelty, your potential for destruction. Because those parts of you stay hidden, until the conditions are right. We see this in psychology studies like Milgram's experiment. Ordinary people electrocuted strangers simply because an authority told them to. Some pressed the button while laughing. Normal citizens, mothers, students, neighbors, every one of them believed they would refuse. Every one of them was wrong. The lesson: you don't know who you are, until you have power. Chapter 11, True Power Reveals Character. Here's a truth most people refuse to accept: power doesn't corrupt, power reveals. Power removes consequences. Consequences restrain behavior. Take away consequences, and the real person emerges. Not the dressed-up version of you, not the polite one, not the moral one, the real one. You don't know your shadow, until you are given the opportunity to use it. The moment someone realizes they can lie, cheat, or manipulate without consequences, they discover a new self, a darker self, a self that was always waiting. If you had absolute power, no punishment, no judgment, no witnesses, who would you become? If your stomach shifts at the question, your shadow just moved. Chapter 12, The Duality Inside Every Human. Jung once compared the human psyche to a house. The ground floor is the self you show to others. The living room of identity, but beneath the floorboards is the basement, dark, locked, full of things you don't want to deal with. Your shadow lives there. It holds impulses you never voiced, memories you buried, beliefs you are afraid to admit. Everyone has a basement. Most never explore it, not because they don't know it's there, but because they are terrified of what they will find. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. That wasn't metaphor, that was a warning. Chapter 13, The Shift, from personal shadow to collective monster. Individuals have a shadow, groups have something worse. A collective shadow. When humans merge into a group identity, political, religious, nationalistic, individual conscience dissolves, responsibility transfers to the group. People think, I'm not doing this, the group is. And that separation gives them psychological permission to commit atrocities they would never do alone. This is why intelligent people in crowds riot, loot, burn. The group's shadow acts, and the individual hides inside it. The scariest evil is not personal evil, it's shared evil. Chapter 14, The Modern Shadow is Digital. Today, the collective shadow has a new stage: social media, anonymous, invisible, unaccountable, the perfect environment for unconscious impulses to roam free. Scroll long enough and you will find cruelty disguised as honesty, envy disguised as criticism, resentment disguised as virtue. People think screens reveal truth. Screens reveal shadow, because when you're behind a username, your conscience turns off. You don't face the human being, you face pixels. The more disconnected we become from the consequence of our words, the more vicious we become. Online, morality isn't dead. Accountability is. Chapter 15, When you remove God, you must replace him with something. Nietzsche knew that humans cannot function without something higher, something beyond ego, beyond impulse, beyond self-worship. When God died, humans tried to replace him with science, government, celebrities, ideology, the spiritual marketplace of astrology and manifesting, not because these things are inherently bad, but because we are desperate for a center, a structure, a meaning. Jung said, people do not suffer because they have no answers, they suffer because they have no meaning. Without meaning, your shadow takes the throne. When you don't know who you are, your impulses decide for you. What belief do you serve, without realizing it? Who or what dictates your values? If you don't know the answer, you're not the master, you're the follower. Chapter 16, Modern morality is a costume. Today morality is performative. People don't do good to be good, they do good to be seen as good. Virtue signaling, outrage posting, moral theater. When morality becomes performance, you don't handle your shadow, you hide it, you pretend it doesn't exist. You curate a version of yourself that looks pure, kind, enlightened. But the more perfect you pretend to be, the darker the shadow grows underneath, because what you hide doesn't disappear. It waits. Chapter 17, If you don't face your shadow, you become its host. The shadow doesn't want to be denied, it wants acknowledgement. it wants integration. Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Facing the shadow hurts, because it means confronting the parts of yourself you swore didn't exist. You must admit, you are capable of cruelty, you have desires you suppress, you have impulses you deny, you are not as moral as you pretend, but that honesty is the doorway to real growth. You cannot transform what you refuse to see. Chapter 18, The person who knows their shadow is dangerous. Pause, let this sink in. The person who has met their shadow is far less dangerous than the person who believes they don't have one, because self-awareness builds discipline, denial builds delusion. The truly dangerous person isn't the one who sees evil, it's the one who believes evil is impossible for them. When someone says, "I would never do that," they are lying. Not to you, to themselves, and self-deception is where monstrosity begins. Chapter 19, The Path to Integration. Jung didn't say, eliminate your shadow. He said, integrate it. What does that mean? It means you bring your darker impulses into awareness, so they cannot manipulate you subconsciously. Integration is when you can say, I am capable of darkness, but I choose the light. That is morality, not perfection. Choice. Maturity is not innocence, maturity is awareness. You cannot call yourself peaceful if you are incapable of harm. You can only call yourself peaceful if you are capable of harm, and choose restraint. If your shadow and your highest self were fighting for control, which one is winning right now? Chapter 20, The Final Question. In a world without God, without structure, without accountability, what guides you, what keeps you from becoming the worst version of yourself? Most people say, I just know what's right. But do you? Or have you simply never been tested? You don't know your morality until you are offered power. You don't know your character until your shadow speaks. The modern world keeps telling you, you are a good person. This video tells you the truth, you are a person with the potential to be good or monstrous. The difference is not belief, it's discipline. Whether or not God exists is not the point. The point is that when the idea of God disappeared, humans lost the feeling of being watched. We lost accountability. We lost limits. We lost restraint. But there is still something watching you, not in the sky, inside your mind. Your conscience is the new surveillance camera. Your awareness is the new judge. Morality didn't disappear, we became responsible for creating it. You are not scared of evil, you are scared of realizing that evil lives inside you, and the only way to defeat the shadow is to face it. In the next video, we will explore how to integrate your shadow without losing control of your identity. Because understanding your darkness is the first step toward mastering your light. Subscribe, stay alert. Chapter 2 begins soon. The shadow is waiting.